One molecule of hyaluronic acid can attract up to 1,000 molecules of water. So you can imagine if we have less and less of it in our lips, particularly, our lips are going to end up looking very dry, feeling very dry, and becoming thinner as a result. So another popular question, which filler gives the most natural result? Now, that's not necessarily down to the filler, although there are some aspects of that that are important, as I'll talk about later. That's more really to do with technique and where the filler's actually placed. Now, not all lip fillers are the same. There are differences in texture, in consistency, in resiliency, which means how dynamic they are, how well they can move within your lips when you move your lips. So you don't want lip fillers that will make your lips look quite stiff and unnatural. You want lip fillers that are resilient and almost elastic enough that they can move when you move your lips. You want natural movement still around your mouth, just with slightly plumper lips. So, not all fillers are the same. Some will end up looking more natural than others, but a lot of it has to do with the practitioner's skill. So, which filler lasts the longest? Now that is $1 million question. How long is a piece of string? It really depends on what results you're looking for, where you place the filler, and again, the type of filler that you use. For example, I'll just show you this filler, Bellaterra Volume, is a filler that's actually quite thick. It's meant to be used around sort of cheeks, around the areas where you want, as the name implies, where you want volume. So you don't necessarily want this filler somewhere where you want lots of movement, like your lips. But a filler like Stillage M is a little bit more movable, a little bit more resilient, so that you can put in your lips if you want a little bit more volumization. You can get fillers that are a little bit thinner in consistency, more towards the watery end of the scale than the thicker gel end of the scale. Those fillers don't have as much cross-linking in them, which means they're not as firm. That's what gives them the thinner consistency. But that also conversely means that they won't last as long because they're not as robust within wherever they're injected. So if you want a filler that's going to last you for 12, 18 months, it's going to have to be a filler with more cross-linking, a little bit firmer product. Those fillers tend to be used, because of the firmness, they tend to be used for areas that are more sort of around the jawline, around the cheeks, not necessarily into the lips, because then that gives you a little bit too much projection and it can end up looking a little bit unnatural. Which filler is permanent? Now, hyaluronic acid fillers are not permanent. The body breaks them down naturally over time. As I've said, the range of the time the filler lasts in your body can be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, depending on the type of filler used, how much filler is used, where it's placed, which plane of the skin it's placed in. No hyaluronic acid filler is permanent. There are some fillers that are semi-permanent, but they're not hyaluronic acid fillers. They're made with other substances, but they can't be reversed. So they can't be dissolved once they've been injected. So you do need to be aware of that when you're trying out fillers. So when you get lip filler treatments, sometimes you might get lumps. Sometimes, depending on the experience and skill of the practitioner, you might get what's called filler migration, where particularly around the lips, you might get filler moving upwards from the lips up into this area here. That's called migration, and that's what gives you that kind of weird shelf that you can sometimes see. Now, that can be massaged back down depending on the type of filler used and how resilient and dynamic it is. Otherwise, it might have to be dissolved or broken down with a substance called Hyalase, a prescription-only medicine that helps to break down the filler faster. Filler migration isn't a permanent thing. If you catch it early enough, you can massage it. You can sort of make sure it moves back down to where it's meant to be. You can also use heat pads, depending on the amount of migration. If it's just a little bit, you might be able to use a little bit of heat to just start the filler breakdown and stop the firmness of the filler and holding firm where it is migrated to. Are filler results instant? You can see a change straight away. There will be some swelling at the injection site. So the change you see immediately after the treatment isn't necessarily going to be what you're left with 2, 3, 4 weeks later. That swelling will calm down. So you will find that initially